Good afternoon, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. This is Rich again, back with your second video blog of the day for July 26, 2014, Saturday afternoon around 3:48 p.m. in Ballot, Massachusetts. Another nice sunny day, low humidity, got a little bit of a breeze. It felt like great weather. I went to the Lowell Folk Festival today. It was very fun, enjoyed myself, and met Al Caprian, weatherman for WBIN-TV 18 in Boston, Manchester, and I have an autographed picture of him. He also worked for WCAP doing the weather as well. Some sports news to report. The Boston Red Sox traded starting pitcher Jake Peavy to the San Francisco Giants for 2 minor league prospects. The Red Sox are now in selling mode. They're going to be trading off a lot of players because they're out of the race. They're not going to make the playoff this year. They're not going to be defending the World Series title, unfortunately, and it's sad, but that happens. And also, the Baseball Writers Association has voted to reduce the player's eligibility to be on a Hall of Fame ballot from 15 years down to 10 years, and this takes effect immediately, and this is the first change for the Baseball Writers Association for Hall of Fame ballots since 1991, where they decided any baseball player was permanently ineligible for who's been banned for baseball for life is ineligible for the Hall of Fame as well. So this is the first change in 24 years. But staying on the ballot for the grandfather clause is Don Mattingly, Alan Trammell, and Lee Smith. Don Mattingly's eligibility runs out next year. Alan Trammell's eligibility runs out in 2016, and Lee Smith's eligibility runs out in 2017. But they're nowhere close to get the 75% votes needed for the Hall of Fame, and they're not going to jump up completely at all because there's so many names on the ballot. What do I think about this? I think it's a very good move by the Baseball Writers Association because there's so many players who are going to be eligible in the coming years, plus there's so many good players who are in the so-called steroid era. They only have 10 shots to be voted into the Hall of Fame, and after the 10th shot, they're not going to be around. And this is a good move. And beginning in 2015, you have players eligible for the Hall of Fame for the first time for Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez, John Smoltz, Gary Sheffield, Nomar Garcia-Pella, and others. Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez, and John Smoltz are first ballot Hall of Famers. 2016, Ken Griffey Jr. and Trevor Hoffman are up for eligibility for the first time in the Hall of Fame. They're probably going to get voted in for the Hall of Fame for the first time. 2017, you have Vladimir Guerrero, Ivan Rodriguez, Manny Morales, Tim Wakefield, Jason Veritek, and a few others. But Guerrero, Rodriguez, are interesting cases. I don't know if they'll be voted in for the first time. Manny Morales has no shot of getting in because he was a ED user, and Tim Wakefield and Jason Veritek won't get 5% of the votes at all. 2018, you have Chipper Jones, Jim Thome, and Omar Vizquel as first-timers. Chipper Jones and Jim Thome will probably get in on the first ballot. Omar Vizquel's probably going to be on there probably the whole 10 years. 2019 is going to be Mariano Rivera, Roy Halladay, and Lance Berkman. You know, Rivera's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Halladay's going to be an interesting case, and Lance Berkman has no shot of getting in. He probably won't get the 5%. And 2020 is Derek Jeter. You know he's going to get in on the first ballot. But now only 10 years for an eligibility, I got to feel bad for the cases that are going to be coming up. 2016 is going to be Mark McGwire's last year on the ballot. He probably could be dropped out of the ballot next year because he never got more than 20%, and his votes have been decreasing decreasing. It was under 10% in 2014, and if it drops to 5% or lower, he's gone. So I bet I wouldn't be surprised if he's gone in 2015. 2017, 2017, no longer. Lee Smith is the 15th year eligible final. Also, Tim Lane's 10th year and final time. You gotta feel bad for Tim Lanes. He was the National League's version of Ricky Henderson, and he's probably not gonna get enough votes for the 75 to get voted in by the writers, so he's off the ballot. 2019 is gonna be another interesting case with Edgar Martinez and Fred McGriff. They are nowhere near 50%, and they're going to probably be dropping off the ballot. 2020 is going to be real interesting for Jeff Bagwell and Larry Walker. Larry Walker is not going to get the necessary votes to get moved up. He's gone. Jeff Bagwell's hovering around 56, 57%. They need big jumps, but I don't know if he's going to get the 75% for Hall of Fame induction. 2022 is going to be the interesting case of all. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Curt Schilling, Sammy Sosa. Their last time he'll be on the Hall of Fame ballot. Sammy Sosa's probably off next year because he's going to get under 5%. Curt Schilling had 29%. And he's going down. There's no chance he's going to get in. Clemens and Bonds hovering around 35, 36% votes last year, and their vote total is going to go down. Another interesting case is Mike Piazza. He's 60% of the vote and stuff like that. He's going to probably be making a big jump push. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Mike Piazza gets voted into the Hall of Fame by 2017, and also Craig Biggio. 2022 will be his last time, but he was 2 votes short to get into the Hall of Fame in 2014. He'll get the necessary 2 votes. He'll be a Hall of Famer next year. And 2023 is going to be the interesting case for Mike Messina and Jeff Kent. They'll be on the Hall of Fame ballot for the final time. They're nowhere near close to 75% or 50%. And I don't know if their numbers will go up. They have to go up, super up, by year 5, or they're not going to make the Hall of Fame, which is sad. But this is a good move by the Baseball Writers Association of America, because they don't want the steroid guys in, or the players suspected of using steroids, and they want to make the Hall of Fame the best of the best of the best. I agree with that, because Baseball Hall of Famers should not use PEDs. The Baseball Hall of Fame has no place for players like Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, and Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, and others who've been suspicious of PED users. Last year on the Hall of Fame ballot, Rafael Palmeiro dropped out because he didn't get the necessary 5% of the votes, and he admitted he flunked the steroid test. That means he's not eligible for the Hall of Fame again, and he's not going to be eligible. The Veterans Committee is going to probably put his name, but he's not going to get any votes. And this is very good, and I think the best of the best of the best gets into the Hall of Fame in baseball. And the 15-year rule is goodbye. But, you know, there's been very few players who've been voted in by the 15-year rule who've been 10 or more years. The players who've been voted on for the 15-year rule since it was instituted in 1962 were Ralph Kiner in 1975, 15 and final year, Bob Lemon pitching in I think 1976 or so, Duke Snider in 1980, Bruce Sutter in 2006, Jim Rice in 2009, and Bert Blyleven in 2011. That's about it. And there's no chance you're going to see Don Mattingly, Alan Trammell, or Lee Smith get voted in. They're not going to have big jumps by the baseball writers, and it's kind of sad, especially for Don Mattingly, because he was probably one of the best players in baseball in the 1980s, but after he had a back injury in 1990, his career went right down, went down, and sad to see him, protection go off with a back injury, and he got no support for the Hall of Fame vote, which is kind of sad, but that happens. And Alan Trammell was one of the greatest defensive shortstops of all time, but he got maybe as much 40% of the vote, and that's not good enough. Lee Smith was a dominating relief pitcher in his day, 478 saves. He actually holds a save record for about like 13, 14 years, but he cracked 50% of the vote a couple of times, but he dropped down under 50%. He's not going to get in it, unfortunately. It's going to be very sad to see this for only 10 years, so they want the best of the best of the best. I think a player now, if they have to have 50% of the, at least 50% of the vote, but if they're not going to be voting 75% the first year or two, because if they have under 50% of the vote now, it's going to be very tough to climb to that 75 level by 10 years, and they only have 10 years. I applaud the Baseball Hall of Fame writers for doing this, because they don't want the Hall of Fame to have any players who were suspicious of using PEDs or use PEDs. And also, a lot of the Baseball Hall of Famers don't want players who use PEDs in their fraternity to Hall of Fame. If they know a player's gonna, if a player who was voted in used them, they know that they said a lot of them would boycott it because they don't want to have them in the fraternity. And I think a lot of the Hall of Famers would probably would have secretly asked the Hall of Fame to remove their name if they did that, and they don't want a big uproar. So I applaud the Baseball Writers of America for doing this. Good job. Good job. Well, I'll be back later on for another one of these video blogs. So have a good afternoon, baseball fans, Facebook friends, and YouTube followers. This is Rich signing off. Bye!